It always takes just 1 second for it to load.
Yeah. I wish I could see the comments to help you field them or something, but I guess not.
No, I have to check them while you talk.
Okay.
So, hello everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I am Sarah and this is Rebecca.
Hello.
And we are so super excited to be here with you guys today. I want to first of all thank you so much for joining this challenge all of this week. I am so glad you're still hanging out here with us and that you have found the insights so helpful. So thank you for doing your homework and sharing your comments and all the fun that we've been having. So as you log in, please just say hello and wave to us. I want to know where you're from today. You know, this online world is like so amazing. It allows us to stay connected. For those of you who might not know, I am in Utah. I recently moved out here from New Jersey, where Rebecca is right now.
Yep, East Coast.
And so as you log in, go ahead and tell us where you're at. You know, it's a whole new world, like literally, right? And now here we are connected, and I have been so grateful and so surprised at the level of connection that we have been able to establish through this whole online group. And as I work online with my clients and students, you can literally feel the warmth. It's funny because I almost feel more connected in a way than when we were in person, because we're like in constant contact.
Yeah.
And so that has been a lot of fun. So, I also want to ask you to please invite your friends. You know, this community is growing rapidly. We have lots of good stuff going on all the time. So invite your friends as you can. I think that everyone on earth can benefit from this kind of insights and knowledge and work. And it is such a blessing to have the opportunity to do your spiritual work. Like, there's so many things that have to be in place in order for you to be able to do that. You know, you have to have food and shelter and clothing and a certain amount of stability in your life that's somewhat predictable. And so the more people that get uplifted, the more people that move away from fear and towards light and love, that is like literally the one and best and only thing that we can really do to help humanity. So each time that each one of you takes the one baby step in the right direction, it's not just for you, but for everyone around you. Anything you want to add to that, Rebecca? First, let me introduce, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I've been a student of Sarah's for at least 5 years. And I started with Sarah in just regular yoga classes, and her cues were so specific and so informative that I felt the need to go deeper with Sarah. So we started I signed up for her level 1 yoga teacher training and found out how much I needed to learn. And then from there, we continued. I am a mom of 3 boys. I'm a nurse. I'm a nature lover, a yoga lover. And now I'm trying to share all of the wisdom that I've learned from Sarah and all of the wisdom that I got from studying yoga and everything else. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so Rebecca now teaches and follows her heart and helps to uplift other people. She's got her little studio in New Jersey that she created last year. And so I am so grateful to have her here with us. It's, you know, when I first started this journey, and I remember having a group of like level 1 students and just thinking, oh wow, like where's this gonna go? And you see, then I get all choked up, right? Because it's like a full.
So much has happened.
It's so much has happened. And it's like a fulfilled vision of seeing them grow and now work alongside with me, because I just can't do it all. You know, I've gotten to the point where I like need help, and they are ready and willing and able to serve, because you get to a point where the world as it was, it's just like, all right, there it is. And you still have to live in it, you still have to work in it, you still have to interact with it. But all of the things in life that you used to think would bring you pleasure, money, and trouble, and all of this excitement just doesn't quite do it for you, right? So, because you already have everything that you need from.
But also the flip of that is so important. All the things that used to bother you, that used to have so much power over you, no longer have the power over you. So it's a double-sided coin.
That's true. Where I was going with it is like, okay, once you get to that place, there's like nothing left to do but to serve. There's nothing left to do but to just enlighten as many people as you could possibly reach. And to be doing it online right now has been a shift for all of us, right? And I'm just so grateful to be here. And I'm so grateful that you're here. I guess I'm going to stop rambling and get to my agenda.
Over the years.
Okay, so for housekeeping purposes, for those of you who are new, we have lots and lots of new people joining this community. I am Sarah. I am a traditional Usui Reiki master teacher, a holistic life coach, and a yoga teacher. I pinned a little video that I made last week with a little bit of my personal story and how I became the teacher that I am today up in the announcements tab, so you can watch that to get to know me a little bit better. Please make sure that my email is marked as not spam so you don't miss your notifications. Let's see, what else? Oh, the daily prizes. Today's winner was Emily Ruiz, and she's getting the book that I showed you yesterday, Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. So Emily, if you're watching, just send me your address and I will mail that to you. And then today we are doing again one of the little bracelets that I make with lots of love. So if you comment on the live or on the replay, then you're entered in the drawing. Let's see, what else? Okay, so let me just recap real quick so everybody's on the same page. This is a 5-day challenge. On day 1, we met Katie and we talked about sacred space. On day 2, we talked about our mind and how it works and the functions of the mind, which are memory, imagination, understanding, and misunderstanding. And someone, I forget who it was, on the comments said, wait a minute, I was watching and I saw all these functions. How do I know that I'm misunderstanding? She said. And I'm like, that's the $1 million question, isn't it?
Clarity.
Can you, let's test Rebecca. How do you know that you're misunderstanding?
How do you know you're misunderstanding? I honestly, I think it depends on the situation, but if you have clarity, you're able to understand more what you're looking at. If something triggers you, if something creates an emotional reaction that you're uncomfortable with, chances are you need to look a little bit deeper at the situation and try to really see what it is that you saw, and if it was true, or if you put your own sort of goggles on top of reality and clouded what was really happening.
Exactly. Which is why the next day we talked about emotions. Emotions are your compass. Emotions are what tells you when you're right and when you're wrong. And you're absolutely right. Whenever something triggers you, that's your signal. Whenever you're suffering in any way, mental, physical, emotional suffering, that's your signal. There's misunderstanding. Because if there was true understanding and you were in a place of unconditional love, light, and compassion, you wouldn't have that reaction and those negative emotions and those negative feelings. And then the other part is what actually leads to today's lecture, which is the 3 things that you need to like really gain that clarity, right? Because it's just not going to come out of nowhere. It has to come from somewhere.
And it's not something you can just say like, poof, I want clarity. You know, it's something you have to work towards and really begin, you know, again and again, go through the same sort of steps to understand, okay, do I have clarity now? I don't know. And then check again.
That's right. And that's the checking part that is so incredibly helpful about having the three things that we're going to talk about today: a systematic and enjoyable practice. And I'm going to kind of just dive into that right away. The next thing is to have a community of like-minded individuals. This is why, in monasteries, they kind of work together. It's called the Sangha, a community of spiritual, like-minded people who together, we talked about the energy system the other day and how our energy bubbles are like 6 feet each way, etc. And we're all interconnected. And when we come together, we have access to that much more energy and that much more power. And so when you come together as a community, you could actually benefit from that momentum that the collective energy gives us. So you need a community, you need a systematic and enjoyable practice, and then you need a teacher, because a lot of the times you're in your own bubble and you just don't see clearly. And so whether that teacher is a rabbi, a priest, a psychologist, or really even a dear friend who is in a place of unconditional love and light and compassion and non-judgment, who could actually listen to you and act as a clear mirror for you to see yourself and your dysfunction, so you can begin to heal. That's what we're going to talk about today. Anything you want to add to that?
I just wanted to add, a teacher would see your dysfunction, but from a place of unconditional love. So even though they see it, they accept you for it, and they hold space for you when you're ready to see it, and then help you find your way of correcting the dysfunction. Because it sounded a little scary, like someone's going to see your dysfunction and you're all exposed. But if it's a true teacher and it's the right teacher for you, they will hold a place of unconditional love and non-judgment. And that has really been key for me in my growth with you. And we can touch on that again, but it's kind of a big
and so thing. The thing is, and it's funny because when I made that video that I was talking about before, and I was reminiscing on my journey, and I started to remember there's so many teachers that helped me get here. I still get choked up because it's it was a journey of learning to love unconditionally, because they saw me and they loved me unconditionally despite the good, the bad, and the ugly. I learned to love myself unconditionally, and that's how healing really happens.
Yeah. So that is so crucial. It's, it creates the space for you to be real with yourself.
And to be loving towards yourself.
Yes.
Because a lot of the times we're the hardest, we beat ourselves up more than anybody.
Yes. I certainly I'm guilty of that.
So let's stop for a second and give me some fire, give me some happy faces, give me something on the comments so that I know you're, there are the comments. Sorry, I haven't been scrolling down. Give me 1 second. Okay, it says that the broadcast keeps stopping and interrupting a little bit. Sometimes the replay might be better. It could be the internet connection is a little choppy, but we're gonna keep going and dive right in, because there's not much that I can do about. I just checked my speed and my internet connection and it's all good. So it might be on your end a little bit, or maybe Facebook or the internet is acting up a little. But we're gonna go ahead and dive right in. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the different types of practices that are available to you. And the practice that you need needs to be designed specifically for you. And so therefore, the only person that can really know what is the right practice for you is you. And that might require some trial and error of different things and different modalities that you experience, and then you begin to see how they make you feel, and then little by little, do they help you feel more balanced or not? So in a big picture perspective, You have things like Tai Chi and Qigong, which I'm not, to be honest, very familiar with. And if anyone in the group is like an instructor of Tai Chi and Qigong, comment below and like say, hey, I'm an instructor, and give us a little bit of insight about that. Um, you also have meditation, and there's many techniques that you could use to meditate, and I'm going to talk about those in a moment. You have energy healing. There's many modalities of energy healing. The one that I'm most familiar with is Reiki, but I know that Katie knows of other energy healings. I don't know if you know of any other energy healing modalities.
I mean, I've heard of, different modalities, but I'm not an expert by any means.
But that is a very good way of actually like, okay, so the thing just froze. It says it's having trouble playing the video. Rebecca, you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna keep going because the last time that this happened, the connection was slow, but then the replays were much better for whatever reason. So I'm just gonna give it a second here. I'm gonna go back to this other screen. If you guys can see us okay, can you please on the comments click okay? Yes, we can see you. Yes, we can hear you. Because last time my system was doing this, and then when I went back to the replay, they had been seeing me and hearing me perfectly the whole time. It was like my system was giving me an error message, but because of the delay between me and the Facebook thing, when it got to them, it was actually okay. It was like kind of just buffering. So I'm gonna keep going. Okay. So Tai Chi, Qigong, meditation, Reiki, energy healing, and then yoga. And then I'm gonna talk a little bit about the different styles of yoga. And so that's kind of how I wanna start, just kind of giving you a big overview of the options that you have and how to look for them. And then we're gonna talk about how to actually measure progress and how to actually track and how to really know if you're actually making progress and if you're quote unquote doing it right. I posted a little cartoon yesterday where it said like, I don't know if I'm doing it. I know there's no wrong way, but I don't know if I'm doing it right. That's really how it feels. It's like you try and you really don't know. Okay, you see, they can see me and they can hear me just fine. Okay, good. Thank you so much. Keep putting little emojis as you go. So every now and then, just drop a happy face or something in there so that I know. And let's keep going. So, in regards to the different meditation techniques, the one that I like to prescribe, if you don't have a teacher, let's say, if you're not working with anyone, you literally want to just sit as tall and straight as possible. And there's a video on my free library there's a whole video on how to sit for meditation. And you want to breathe slowly and deeply without strain. So if you're breathing and your breathing becomes labored, you're trying too hard. You want to breathe deeply enough that your mind has to focus on your breath. And then everything else needs to kind of just fall away. You see the thoughts come in, you let them go. You see the emotions come in and you let them go. And that's kind of just the standard way to begin a meditation practice. Like literally just sit as tall as you can and breathe mindfully and deeply, okay? But there's other techniques too. There's mantra meditation. Karina just joined. Karina's my Kundalini teacher, and she has begun to introduce me to mantra meditation, and it's a different practice than I had been introduced to in Hatha Yoga and Vinyasa Yoga and all the other styles. You can do counting. So if you really have a difficult time getting your mind to just focus on your breath without wandering, you could just inhale, exhale 1, inhale, exhale 2, inhale, exhale 3. And that's gonna give your mind an anchor and a goal for the practice. So
when I first started, I found that was really helpful also, because if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, you said if you don't know where you are, you lost track of what what you're at, you start again. So start back at 1.
Yes.
So whenever you have to start back at 1, you're like, okay, you know, so how many times did I have to start back at 1 in this 20-minute, you know, session? Is sort of, it helps you know, like, how did I do? If you're looking for a measurement.
Yes, that's a good point. So it gives you, the mind likes to succeed, which leads me to the other point. You want to practice every day if possible, because the mind likes to make excuses. Why does the mind make excuses? Because it doesn't want to feel. It doesn't want to be uncomfortable. It's, you sit there and you see your monkey mind going crazy, and you don't want to see you're crazy. So then the mind begins to come up with all of these things that are so much more important than meditation. Who can relate to that? Give me some fire, give me some happy faces over there if you can relate to what I'm saying. And so if we say, I'm only going to practice 4 or 5 days a week, then today is not the day, I'll practice tomorrow. You know, and then tomorrow is not the day, and I'll practice.
Not the day.
And so this is why it's so key and so important to have a systematic way of committing to your practice. And so what I would suggest is, if you've never really done any kind of meditation or seated meditation or mindful breathing before, I would start with 7 minutes. 7 minutes for 7 days. Your goals for your mind have to be like baby steps. You need to feel like you're making progress. That will keep the mind motivated. So if you've never tried to try and start with 20 minutes, you're just gonna get frustrated the next day and you're not gonna wanna do it again. But if you say, I'm gonna do this week 7 minutes for 7 days, right? And that's all you want your system to do. And then the next week you do 14 minutes for 14 days. And then next week you do 21 minutes for 21 days. You are kind of just building that muscle and learning and teaching your mind that we don't have to shock the system. We could just take it a little bit at a time.
Be compassionate to yourself in a way, like easing into a bathtub, not just pushing forcefully in, slowly allowing it to feel natural.
Because if you don't, then you'll get resistance. And if you get resistance, that's really not helpful. And then you just get more avoidance and more of the same. In regards to yoga, I've studied like every lineage under the sky. And there's many, many different styles of yoga out there. I'm going to touch quickly on just the basics. There's like there's gentle yoga classes, and if you have knee injuries, hip issues, shoulder issues, back issues, you probably want to look for a gentle yoga class. They're often like just breath based and just a little bit, they don't require as much stamina. Then you have the classical lineages of hatha yoga. And when you're looking, that's what there's a whole gamut of things that you could fit under hatha yoga. But when you see it on a schedule, hatha yoga usually means poses that are held for just a few moments, that give you the chance to just be present. It's not moving too quickly. You have a chance to catch your breath. And so in general, if you see a hatha yoga class, anybody can really do it. And because it's moving at a slower pace, then the teacher can usually modify for you. So if you're a beginner, that's probably the kind of class that you're looking for. Rebecca, would you describe vinyasa and hot yoga? Because I know you did it for years.
Sure. I just want to add to hatha, because it's a slower pace, the teacher will have more time in each pose to explain the actions of the pose, so that it's not just copy a shape. It's understand what's happening on the inside, what your muscles are doing, so that you are more aware. Because in yoga, I only learned this from Sarah after doing 20 years of yoga before Sarah. It's not really important what it looks like on the outside. What's important is what you're doing, given how your body feels today. So that was one of the beauties of hatha yoga that I got from Sarah that was so insightful. When I met Sarah, I was a power vinyasa hot yoga girl all the way.
I was too.
And I loved them. I had a very busy monkey mind. And one of the only ways that I could keep it quiet was to keep my body busy. So in a fast flow vinyasa class, you're going through sometimes a pose of breath. And in order to do that, your mind is busy moving. And then it can stop overthinking and you finally get a moment of quiet because you're focused on the movement. So it felt so good to find that peak of quietness that I would get from all the movement. And hot yoga has its place. I still love it at times. It gives you, first of all, you sweat like crazy and it feels really good. If you're hydrated and you take care of yourself in advance, it can be great. But also because your muscles are more malleable in the heat, you can get a lot more flexible. So this has, also two-sided coin, right? Like it can lead to more injuries if you're not super aware. But if you are aware and careful, it can allow you to get deeper into certain poses that would be difficult in a, room temperature room.
Hot yoga makes me feel sick, Emily. Yes, I hear you. Sometimes it does. Like, listen, it's not for everyone. It has a place and a time. But again, it is for some people. There is a reason that it is so popular.
And it can be, it doesn't have to be a starting point. For me, it was a starting point because when I got out of hot yoga, I felt so good. I was happy to go back. Whereas in a hatha yoga class, when I first started, my brain was so busy, I couldn't even hear the teacher. All I could hear was like, when is this over? What are my next things that I have to do? What's the list, of all the stuff that's just, do I look okay? Am I doing it right? All the questions that don't matter and aren't important. What's important is just being present in the moment and really trying to do what's asked of you.
Yeah.
And so I agree that hot yoga has its issues, but it can be a great place to start if you need that kind of rigorous push.
Yes, and if you live in Phoenix, Arizona, then yes, that's gonna compound the heat. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going here. It looks like you guys are listening, but I have to tell you, for whatever reason, the Facebook feed is saying that you can't see me. So I really need you to comment and comment and comment and keep putting happy faces on everything that we say because it's my only way of knowing that you're there. I don't even know who's there. Etc. So if you're here, and here's the other thing that I had asked at the beginning. Tell us where you're from. I want to know where you're calling from in the world. Let's see. Let's keep going here. So that's in regards to the types of practices that are available, and a little bit in regards to how to start a practice on your own. Now, I'm talking about setting up a daily practice for yourself. That should be 7 minutes, 14 minutes, 21 minutes, whatever it is that you decide. And that practice can be anything. If you need to move, if you can't sit still and sitting still is uncomfortable, then move and breathe and, do whatever it is that you need to do to get your mind to kind of like just chill and relax and reconnect with your body. But in addition to your daily practice, I really want you to consider working with a teacher. Like, I am an excellent teacher. I love me and my students love me. This is why they're here. But I'm not everybody's teacher. You need to find a teacher that's right for you, but you must have someone outside of your bubble that is kind of lifting you up a little bit and showing you this new vibration. Like, without it, you're just spinning inside of your own bubble, and all you know is all you know. And as much you could try all you want, and you can work all you want, and you can put in all your effort you want, but if you're not going in the right direction,
it's a problem.
Do you remember the story in the Bhagavad Gita when we did level 1 of the two guys who got on a boat and started to row, but they forgot to untie the boat? Right?
So they never got anywhere?
And they never got anywhere. So you can practice all you want, but without the correct understanding and without the connection to that higher vibration from where you are, your efforts might not give you the results that you really need in order that you could get if you had the right guidance, the right understanding, the right method. I was reading another book yesterday and it said, actually Michelle Rockwood, who logged in, I don't know if you're still here, the book that you gave me was telling the story about how, like, here we are going up the mountain and like trying so hard and stumbling and struggling, and the teacher's over there just peeling an orange, waiting, watching, just waiting for you. And we can give you guidance that will like get you unstuck like that. Why? Because we've already stumbled so much. In my case, it's tea. I drink a lot of tea. I like oranges too, but
I have two really good examples actually of you getting me unstuck from things that maybe are obvious, definitely should be obvious, but I knew I didn't. Actually, the food I didn't. So I used to not eat breakfast at all. And then I would sort of be in a tizzy all day. And you said to me, I wouldn't eat till 4 p.m. You're like, you need to start eating. And I'm like, but I'm not hungry. You're like, you just trust me, you're hungry. You just need to have a hard-boiled egg. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It doesn't have to be elaborate. One little small thing. And I would come to our sessions and you'd be like, did you eat the egg? And I'm like, I'm not hungry. Finally, once I was able to, convince myself, like, maybe she knows what she's talking about. Like, let's just try it. All of a sudden, I had energy to think clearly. And my day got a lot easier because I wasn't like running on fumes of coffee. And it took you saying that to me a bunch of times for me to be able to hear it. But it's like such a simple thing. And obviously we all have heard since we're, watch TV in the 80s, like breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And of course, obviously there's, intermittent fasting and all the different things that, now are trendy. But for me, you were talking to me, and what I needed to do was, start my system, like start the day. And that was such an easy, small thing that seems obvious and really shouldn't be that difficult, but it took a while of you reminding me, like, this is going to help you, just try it. And it really did.
And can I come before you go to the second one? The reason I like to explain why that's important is because remember yesterday we talked about the 5 bodies: the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, the energy body, and the soul body. They are all connected. So if your physical body doesn't have what it needs, enough sleep and enough warmth and enough like comfort, then all of your other bodies are a little bit off balance because the physical body is not supporting the mental body and the emotional body and all of the other bodies. Okay, I remember Katie says she remembers you eating awesome stuff in class all the time.
That was after Sarah taught me.
Then Rebecca was like, I cannot live without eating. I have to eat. It's like something so simple, but I really do work in a holistic way when I work with students. I'm looking at everything. There is no, if one spoke of the wheel is off balance, we need to fix that. Otherwise, the whole wheel is going to continuously like struggle. What was the other thing? I'm curious.
Before I get to the other thing, because you just said something else. So one thing that you gave me permission to do was care for myself. So as a nurse and a mom and a woman in our, busy time, I was always so focused on taking care of other people and then sort of expected wrongly that someone was then going to take care of me that I didn't really feel like, it's selfish to think that I need to make sure that I'm warm. I should be worried about other people and see if they're warm.
Oh, man, I used to ask you to wear socks. You would show up with socks in the middle of the winter. And I was like, where are your socks?
Yes. So helping me learn to parent myself and love myself as a primary goal, not as like 15 things later when everything else seems to be settled. No, the first thing is take care of yourself, put on your oxygen mask, and then you can take care of everyone else. And giving me permission to do that was like invaluable. The second thing was I used to scream at my kids. that was my method of, first of all, if I didn't like how they behaved, that was my method of showing them. But also, that was my method of getting them to the dinner table. That was my method of, getting them in the car. Whatever it was, it didn't matter. But it was just, that was the default because I didn't have any better tools. And first, you taught me how to care for myself. And then teaching me how to be aware and be accountable and show my kids that I was there from a place of unconditional love, the way you did for me. Only then was I able to run my house from a place of love and acceptance and let them feel seen the way that you let me feel seen. And I hadn't really, my mother's amazing, my family's amazing, but I hadn't really received that level of unconditional love and just being seen. I don't know another way of saying it.
I know. And it's hard to explain if you've never experienced it. And, I want to say just for the record that the reason that I can do that for my students is because I've been on the receiving end of it myself. Like, it's something that gets passed to us by great teachers that we just happen to be in a position to pass forward and share with the world. So, okay, keep commenting. Can you relate to anything of what we're saying here, whether it's the self-care and the self-love and your, the love that you bring to your home, etc. I have a question here about intermittent fasting. So I don't know enough to comment on that. My understanding is that you're supposed to have all of your meals in a certain amount of the day, like in a 7-hour period or something. And I have to tell you, that's kind of how yogis eat. Like, I'm not saying eat for 24 hours. I'm just saying do whatever it is that you need for your body. Some people feel good on a vegetarian diet. I personally don't. And if you talk to a yogi, they're like, oh no, you have to be a vegetarian, you're harming the animals, etc., etc. That doesn't work for me. My physical body doesn't feel very good. I've tried it and my physical body was suffering, and so I stopped. Okay.
And then also there's intermittent fasting, and then there's intermittent fasting. So some people will eat for 6 hours a day, some people will eat for 8 hours a day, and it depends what the hours are. So I was not eating till 4 p.m. and then eating till 2 minutes before I went to bed. So you can actually do Sarah's thing and intermittent fast if you start eating in the morning, but stop eating 5 hours before you go to bed, which really shouldn't be that difficult, but is backwards from our big dinners.
Our body needs to fuel during the day to function, etc. Otherwise you're functioning on adrenaline, etc. But again, I don't think that there's a right or wrong way for anyone. Like, I really do think that my job is to connect you with your body and your intuition. If you are connected with your body and your intuition, you will know, and you shouldn't care what anybody else prescribes. Like, that is my whole point as a teacher. I want to empower you to really learn to trust yourself, to trust your intuition, to feel good from within. So I'm still not getting any comments. So if you can see us, say yes, we can still see you, we can still hear you. For now, I'm just gonna keep going, because if not, I guess we might have to do this again. And I will see, because the last time that this happened, it kept happening.
It was fine, yeah.
And then it was fine when I went back to it. Okay. So we've talked about the practices. We've talked about the importance of a daily practice. 2 more things in regards to this. You want to work with a teacher, and you want to find someone to guide you. And when you find them, you really want to meet with them at least twice a week is possible. Going once a week to a yoga class, once a week to a Tai Chi class, it's gonna help you a little, but going twice a week is gonna help you like 10 times more, because you really build a lot of momentum, and so your body gets used to it and begins to actually like get into a rhythm, and then you begin to operate at this higher vibration. And then the other tip that I have for you is to track your progress. And the way that I want you to do that is by literally setting a calendar on the wall in your sacred space. so that you say, okay, today I meditated for 7 minutes. You could do it anyway. You can put a little happy face, you can put stickers. You know, there's a reason that teachers use stickers when they're training little kids. Think of training yourself, your mind, and your system as training like your inner child. And so positive reinforcement towards yourself is very, very helpful.
Yeah. I wanted to add before, the teacher, I guess this is jumping around a little, but
no, you can go ahead. That's actually where we're going. So that was my last point. The tracking on the calendar was in regards to tracking the practice. So you can go into the teacher.
So with the teacher, it's important that you have accountability. So Sarah would ask me when I got there, did you eat your breakfast? And also, if I didn't, I felt safe enough to be honest, right? Because if we're going to a teacher and then I'm gonna be like, yes, I did, and really I didn't, then what are we doing here? So you have to feel safe enough that you're willing to admit that you're human. And the teacher has to be able to, come from a place of unconditional love where they're not gonna get frustrated with you or, you know, hold it against you or anything like that. But also they come from a place of accountability. So if I would say, no, I didn't because blah, 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 Sarah's like, no, stop. Don't make up an excuse. Don't talk to me about why you didn't. Just do it tomorrow. And it was very helpful to have that level of like, this isn't negotiable because this is something that you said you promised yourself you were going to do. This mindful practice that we're trying to start, you're making a promise to yourself, just like you make a promise to your kids and you want to hold it. You making a promise to yourself. So it's something that you feel is important enough that you're going to, you know, set it up for yourself. And then if you miss it, don't even start with the excuses and the, you know, why didn't, oh, well, this was against me and today was a hard day. No, it didn't happen. This was, you know, I messed up. That's okay. I'm human. Everyone has their moments. And I'm going to hold myself accountable tomorrow. So it all starts, you know, starting fresh slate tomorrow.
Yeah.
And requiring that for your teacher, you know, having a teacher who can do that for you and role model that for you so you can do it for yourself is really important.
And just also for the record, like the reason, yes, the accountability is important. And the reason that I don't want you to rationalize and explain the whys is because if you do, then I am validating why it was not possible. And so what I want you to do is say, okay, I didn't do it. That's okay. I love myself unconditionally anyway. I'm going to do it tomorrow, but I'm not going to make up excuses and rationalize why it wasn't possible, because it is possible. I want to do it. And if I like start making up excuses for myself, then it's judgmental. It's saying that I did something bad because I didn't do my practice, and now I have to justify and make up excuses why I didn't do my practice. Okay, well, first of all, you're not a bad person for you not doing your practice. You just didn't do it. And today, that's okay. And don't rationalize, don't make excuses, don't BS yourself as of why it couldn't be done. Yeah. Love yourself enough to say, I didn't do it because I don't want to feel and I don't want to see my mind go crazy. And so I'm going to keep myself busy. And that's where I am. And that's why I couldn't find the time. That was such a
refreshing, enabling perspective for me, because I spent my life rationalizing everything. You know, anything that wasn't perfect, I could rationalize it. Anything that was perfect, I could rationalize it. So to get that space was so helpful.
Yeah. And then the other thing is how to find a teacher. And in order so that I don't look like I'm trying to sell myself here, I gave that task to Rebecca. And I told her to not try to sell me and to just like honestly give you guys guidance as of what you're looking for when you're looking for a teacher.
So there's an Iyengar quote where he talks about the difference between being a yoga or spiritual teacher and an academic teacher. And while it's not necessarily easy to be an academic teacher, it's that much harder to be a spiritual teacher or a yoga teacher, because your information needs to change dependent upon who you're working with. So that doesn't mean the information changes. That's the wrong word. But what's important changes based on who you're talking to and what they need. And it needs to be specific to that person. The other thing that complicates it a little bit more is the yoga teacher, even though it is a personal interaction between the two people, the teacher needs to stay in a place of neutrality. They cannot get triggered or frustrated or, have their own glasses come up and cloud what's really happening with their student.
That's right. So we can't take things personal and we can't make them personal. And this is why it's important that your teacher is continuously cleaning their own side of the street. So this is the reason why to this day, 12 years later, I still have a teacher, because you can only see your own bubble. And one of the things that helps us as teachers to kind of stay on the path is to be continuously making sure that we are where we need to be that neutral mirror. Keep going.
So that applies to everything. It applies to a physical practice. It applies to a question on how do I solve this relationship issue. It applies to if the student shows up late to your class, and you think, oh, this, aren't you being respectful to me? I'm the teacher. No, you have to, you want to hold accountability for them. We say you start yoga on time out of respect for yoga. So you still need to hold them accountable, but it cannot be about, how you feel about it and what this impacts on you. Sorry, do you want to say something? Mm-mm. Okay. The other important part of it is they need to have enough knowledge to know what works for you. So as Sarah said, the spiritual journey, the yoga journey, the mindfulness journey is all personal. So while intermittent fasting might work for some people, it doesn't work for other people. And while, vinyasa yoga might work for some people, it definitely doesn't work for other people. So they need to have a wide enough knowledge set that they can help guide you to what is going to help you specifically. And they need to have a neutral enough, I'm trying to look for another word for neutral, space that they're sort of far away enough from you that even when you're telling yourself a certain story, which most of our lives, right, we're convincing ourselves a certain story. And a lot of times that can be misunderstanding, as we spoke about in the beginning of the talk. So you need to have a teacher who's sort of stepped back enough and neutral enough that they're able to help you see that misunderstanding. And sometimes it's not fun to hear. There were times when I left and I was like, no, Sarah's wrong. It can't be. It's not right. And then I would drive home and be, and then slowly, of course I would never tell that to Sarah when it happened. Now she knows that
I knew anyway. She didn't have to.
I'm sure you did, but I didn't say it. I wasn't like, no. I was just like, and then slowly, maybe you need to hear it more than once, right? Maybe you need to hear it 10 times, but slowly you're able to see the wisdom in what they're saying and reassess where you're coming from and the perspective that you hold on the situation, even if it's, so dear to you, mostly if it's so dear to you, because that's when sometimes it's harder to see the reality.
You need the most help. And I will add to that, the important thing here is that you have someone who's professional. Your teacher cannot be your friend. Like Rebecca and I are being friendly right now, but we still keep that boundary. I always make sure that I keep that boundary of this is actually probably the very first time that you've ever joined me in anything like this, because I am not your friend. I'm your teacher. I do that online. If I become this friend, if I need your love and approval and friendship, I cannot possibly be in a neutral place to really, really help you. So I think what she's getting at is you need someone who literally does this for a living as a professional career and keeps professional boundaries, just like you would with your psychologist, your psychiatrist, your doctor, your lawyer, just your real estate agent, like your friends.
Even more, I would say. There are a lot of people that are friends with their real estate lawyer. But this situation, because it's so personal and because you start talking about the intimate details of your house and how you run your life, which you wouldn't really share with others. You need it to be that much more professional. And the fact that you would reiterate to us again and again, like, I'm not your friend, not from a place of, you know, dismiss but more from a place of love. Like, it's, you know, this is a
if I become your friend, I take away the opportunity for you to heal. It's got nothing to do with me or the fact that I don't want to be your friend. As a matter of fact, it's kind of lonely at the top because of that. You know, because I don't have that many people that I can relate to at my life, and they're my students. And if I then go and become their buddy, then I'm not actually helping. I'm taking away the opportunity for them to value and respect. So I will make that, and I don't want to use the word sacrifice, but I choose to live my life in this way so I can facilitate the work that I do the right way. And it is a labor of love, and it does take a little bit of like personal, like, we have to live our life in a very specific way in order to do the work properly. And that is the tricky thing about this journey and finding the right practice, the right teacher. I have to start kind of wrapping up here, Rebecca, because we're at about 50 minutes and I like to keep these things for about an hour. So anything else you want to add before we close?
The old adage of, when you're ready, the teacher will come.
And I will add to that, the teacher opens the door and the student must enter by themselves. This is a path that has to feel right for you. That's the bottom line. You have to find the teacher that resonates with you at the right time. Let's see, anything else? No, I think that was it for today. Oh yes, tomorrow we get to do obstacles, and tomorrow you're going to meet Lizette. So we learn how to set up sacred space, how the mind works, how emotions work. Today we learn the importance of a practice, a teacher, and a community. And then tomorrow I want to kind of just give you more tools to just overcome some of those inevitable obstacles that are gonna come up along the way. So things will come up, you guys. Like, the struggle is real, like Katie said the other day. Like, struggle is very, very real. This is, I don't want to promise you this is gonna be easy, but I can promise you it's gonna be fun.
I would say it's not going to be easy, but it's worthwhile. You know, it's like the kind of work that you're so grateful you did maybe halfway through. Because once you start feeling the benefits, you're happy to do the hard work, and then it's easy. You know, it's easy. It feels easy because you know what you're going to get so much more in return for it. In the beginning, I would say it's not easy because you have to really face yourself. And then once you realize what that does for you, you just gain so much perspective.
Like, there's nobody has ever asked me to go back to the state of asleep and low energy and fear that they were at when they met me. Like, nobody has ever like said, oh my God, this was not a good idea. Like, everybody that I've ever worked with is just like, oh my God, everybody needs to know. And I'm like, I know. Just trust me, trust yourself, I got you, okay? So just, if you allow yourself to be guided, if you are willing to learn, if you're really ready to like shift for good this time, and not just dabble, not just give it a try, but actually make that commitment to yourself that this is what you're choosing to do to honor your spirit. Okay, thank you so much. Let's go ahead and close sacred space, ground yourself into the earth. Take a deep breath in from the crown of the head down into the floor, and then exhale up the spine, relaxing your shoulders, allowing yourself to feel any emotions that are coming up and letting them kind of flow through you, and going a level deeper to that body of wisdom, of clarity, of understanding that is guiding you, that guided you here, however it is that you found me, and that is guiding you forward. And so allow yourself to really connect and really feel and really trust in yourself, in me, and in this divine power that gives us all life. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon. Namaste. Bye-bye.